Okay, so you're asking, how can I immigrate to Australia? That's quite the question we've got here.
It really is. And the source material we have for this deep dive is just that question itself.
Exactly, just the question. So look, today we're mostly going to acknowledge just how big that question is.
Which is actually a really important first step, because asking how implies there's a way, but with Australian immigration, well, it's more like a network of paths.
Yeah, a whole complex web. So obviously we can't give specific legal advice or tell you, the listener, exactly what to do. That's just not possible without way more info.
Definitely not. But we can use this question, the starting point, to talk about the general shape of the immigration process there.
Think of it like looking at a map of a huge national park before you even decide which trail you might want to hike. You need the overview first.
That's a great analogy, because this single question, how can I immigrate? It immediately makes you think about the different reasons someone might immigrate, and Australia channels those reasons into visa categories.
Right, it's not just one door. It's like, are you coming to work or to join family or maybe to study?
Exactly. Those are some of the big ones. You've got skilled migration, family visas, student visas, even humanitarian pathways. Each is quite distinct.
Okay, let's unpack the skilled part a bit maybe,
Yeah.
because that seems common.
Yeah, it is. Skilled migration often uses a points system. So things like your age, your qualifications, how long you've worked in your field, your English skills, they all add up.
Points. Okay, so it's quite structured.
Very. And then you've got family visas, which are totally different. They generally depend on you having a close family member, maybe a partner, parent, or child, who's already an Australian citizen or a permanent resident.
So the requirements hinge on different things entirely.
Completely different criteria. One's about skills the economy needs, the other's about, well, family connection.
So when someone asks this question, how can I immigrate? What's really interesting is that the real first step for them is figuring out which of these sort of big buckets they might even fit into.
Precisely. Are you an engineer with 10 years experience? Or is your partner Australian? Or maybe you've been accepted into an Australian university. Answering that starts to narrow it down.
It makes you think about the purpose behind the whole system. It's designed, I guess, to meet Australia's needs, economic needs, social objectives like family reunion.
That's right. So understanding those broad categories helps you see where an individual's circumstances might align with the country's goals or policies.
So what this boils down to, for someone just starting to think about this,
Yeah.
is that your big, broad question is actually the perfect gateway. It forces you to see that immigration isn't just one thing.
It's step one in realizing you need to navigate a pretty structured system with lots of different options and rules.
And that naturally leads to the next point, doesn't it? Where do you find reliable info?
Absolutely. This question highlights how crucial it is to go to the source. The Australian government's Department of Home Affairs website, that's the official place.
Yeah, you really need the actual government resources for the real details, the forms, the current criteria.
Because it changes, policies get updated, so official sources are key.
And it also kind of underlines that this isn't usually a quick DIY project. It takes serious research.
It really does. And look, for many people, getting advice from a registered migration agent can be a really good idea. They specialize in this.
Because it's complex legal territory, potentially.
It certainly can be. So, wrapping back to your original question, how can I immigrate to Australia? The first part of the answer is acknowledging it's a major undertaking, a process with many, many facets.
Right. It's acknowledging the complexity first. And as we've sort of walked through, that question itself shows why you absolutely need to dig into the official government info.
And maybe even consider getting professional help to figure out the specifics for your own situation.
So maybe the thought to leave our listener with is this. Start thinking about your specifics. What skills do you have? What qualifications? Any family ties in Australia?
Yeah, exploring how your personal details might connect with those visa categories. We talked about skilled, family, student, etc. That's really your next concrete step. That's how you start turning the how into potential pathways.